What's good, America? It's your man, Reggie Florima, a.k.a. Big Flo, bringing it to you live, or actually pre-recorded, another edition of the Big Flo Show. Been a couple weeks off. You guys haven't seen me trying to line up some great interviews for you guys to learn a little bit about some of the contacts that I've had in my life. The next guy that I'm going to bring on, I've known since 1991. I can't do the math because I'm getting a little old. But for you young listeners out there, you guys can break it down and put it in the comments of how many years that is. But I met this guy when I was a freshman in college. You guys are going to recognize this guy and say, man, that's the dude from the commercials. But what he's really known for is being a writer. He's writing for Blackish, Survivor's Remorse, Whitney, Everybody Hates Chris, and recently has taken over for the Last O.G. So without further ado, I'm bringing on my good friend, Owen Smith.
Yo.
Our applause button. I keep trying to wait
Reggie
for the
Flo.
intern to put the applause button in there. So now we manual here, man. Grassroots.
Man. Proud
What's
of you,
good,
man.
Owen?
You talked about doing this. Now you got it popping. You got the studio.
Man, you know, man.
Good.
Sometimes it takes a pandemic to give you extra time. I had pandemic. I lost my job, bored, little while, man. So I said, let me go out here and run my mouth. This is my therapy session, you know. Some people hit the bottle. Some people do this. I run my mouth.
That's better. That's better for all of us.
So what's good again? Man? Everybody watching right now was like, "That's the dude from the Nicorette. That's the dude from this. That's the dude from McDonald's." And y'all go, you know, when you buy a car, and once you buy the car, you start seeing that car every place. They're gonna be like, "Oh, I said just tell him on Reggie Show, man." And the commercial dude. So I don't know. So anyway, man, Owen, I've known you again since 1991, freshman together at Notre Dame University.
Wear glasses.
I used to wear the glasses.
How much did you weigh in college? Like, what was your height and size?
I know. I forgot to let you know he's a comedian, so he might start throwing shots. So this might turn into a spar session. How much did I weigh in college? How much did you weigh in college? I mean, what kind of question is that? What are we doing?
220. I haven't seen
220. See, you asked me that question because you knew when I threw it back, yours would be sexy. I was sexy in college. I think I started out college at 250 and I finished at 290.
Nice. Yeah.
That's almost DB size now in college. That's almost DB size.
Yeah. And are you 6'2", 6'3"? How tall are you?
Ooh, 6'4". Watch your mouth.
6'4". That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. I remember.
You 6'5"?
Yeah, 6'5". I remember when I first met you, you came in and you were just like, I had never seen like somebody your size and like as like charming and funny. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, he's trying to bring it back. Okay, I see. Okay, bring it back.
Yeah, no, you always kept it
try to be nice.
Real. For those of you who don't know Reggie, if you aren't secure with yourself, you talk to him. He can hurt your feelings. And I
talk about you a little bit, but it's always in love. It's always in fun.
It's always in love. Yeah, absolutely.
You know what it is when you're big. When you're a big child, man, everybody always tells you to be careful with people. I mean, you're a big kid too, so don't touch them. You're gonna hurt them. You're fragile. So big dudes, when they're young, they tend to be a little soft when it comes to like the physicalness and all that stuff because they've been told their whole life not to touch them. But no one told me I couldn't talk about you. So I'm lighthearted. I like people making fun of me. I make fun of people. So
absolutely
good times, man. So Owen, man, look, I always ask people coming out here, man, how did you pick Notre Dame? And you guys are gonna wonder why I'm asking this question. So for those of you guys who are wondering what position he played, Owen didn't play football for Notre Dame or basketball. So shame on you.
I won bookstore basketball. I won bookstore. I hit the winning shot.
Bookstore basketball All-American? Do you get a jacket for that? What do you get for that when you win basketball?
I get to say it around Notre Dame company, and they go.
So those of you guys who think this is a trip, Notre Dame has the largest basketball tournament in the world. It's about 700 teams, and think our students we only had about like 8,000 students. So you get a bunch of teams. It's going to be made up of some of them are going to be the varsity athletes, like the football team, some guys on the basketball team. The administration's involved in there. Our president of our university, who was a priest named Monk Malloy, he had a team. He played every year. Yeah. You get guys that would come out dressed in costumes. So one year we played the Flying Elvises. You might play the Ninja Turtles. You might play some goofy team. You kind of wanted one of those early so you could get through it. But this tournament goes on, and it is serious, and it gets big, and it's like the excitement of the NCAA tournament. And then usually the day of the spring game or the day after, I think it's usually the day of the spring game, the Notre Dame football spring game, they had the championship. When I tell you that couldn't happen during COVID because everybody was out. And it was so important who won this game. You would think you were watching the NCAA Final Four. It's such a big deal at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So for Owen to say he won one year, like his chest came out a little bit. You know what I mean? 91 and 95, you could everybody. There's only
my
one
senior
winner.
Year, I was recruited by Tracy Graham, and we had a great team, man. For years I played on the Ebony side and didn't really finish it. Then we got sponsorship. Played on
I was on one of those teams that we didn't wear costumes, but we might as well have because we were a joke. Everybody played though. That's the beauty of it. Everybody played.
Yeah.
Anyway, we digress. Yeah. So you hail from the Bahamas.
Yeah, born in the Bahamas,
Washington D.C.
Raised in Maryland, PG County, Maryland. Yeah.
Okay.
Same area that Martin Lawrence comes from. Dave Chappelle, Taraji P. Henson.
I thought Dave Chappelle was from Dayton.
Well, his dad, but he grew up in.
That's what we do as people. We claim folks. We claim folks. Yeah. His uncle used to ride the bus with my sister's.
Right. He's
from Dayton, Ohio.
DC, Maryland. Yeah, he lived in Montgomery County. So
at one point,
but his mom taught at the community college behind my house.
His uncle worked at the Shop and Save, so he did it. Anyway, so how does one come from the Bahamas to Maryland and then show up at Notre Dame?
Man, so PG County is an all-black neighborhood. I didn't really know I was a minority. Be quite honest with you, until I heard about it. There were white folks around, but before we moved to PG used to be all white, and then apparently Black folks started coming, I guess, out of DC. It was the white flight. And the ones who couldn't afford to leave pretty much stayed. And they were like our teachers. So we had like this weird, we would have these weird moments like, did they just say that to me? Growing up. But in Maryland, I was going to go to HBCU. But my mom, I was reflecting about my mom, my senior year, I got recruited to play at like smaller schools because I thought I was going to play basketball. My senior year, I averaged 20 points and 20 rebounds, but I had a coach who never put my rebounds in the paper. And I'm sure every athlete has something they're like bitter about. Yeah. And so,
we all got a story.
So I played basketball with this guy named Chris Palmer, who is a year older than me. He ended up writing for ESPN, the magazine. He could jump out the gym, and he might be on ESPN, but he's like a commentator on television and stuff. And so my high school was like lean on me, and then they got this magnet program, right? And so when they got the magnet program, that's when I went there. So I didn't live in the city. I lived in a different city, but I didn't go to the high school in my city. I go to this magnet high school. So it was like magnet and comprehensive. So I was in these college prep courses with the few white folks that went to the school. But I played sports with the Black folks, and I was kind of like this mediator between the
you were the guy that they called in when there was an issue.
What does it mean when I'm going to? He said I'm going to get jumped. Yeah, you about to get. What did you do?
We need you to talk to the people.
Right. I became this like middle child of the public school system, I guess, just kind of like mediating. And so my coach, I tell you that backstory to say we played with a lot of kids who my basketball team was comprised of mainly kids from the comprehensive program. So my coach felt like I was going to be all right. That's because I ended up being the only one to make like the all-star games after the season. So he had to drive me to the practices, and that's when I got up enough courage. How come you never put my rebounds in the paper? Because my thinking was, if you said this kid is averaging 20 points and 20 rebounds, college recruits would have come. They would have seen more players, but he was like, I always thought you were going to be all right. You got good grades. You did this. I had to look out for these other people. And I never understood that thing, but that perception of me was something that's kind of like followed me. People just looked at me and thought I was, all right. So anyway, I ended up playing in these all-star games. And this is when I knew I wasn't going to really play college ball. The goal then was to get into the preliminary game before the McDonald's All-American game. And so I'm playing like this. I think it was DC and Virginia versus Maryland. I was on the Maryland team. I wasn't a flashy player, but I knew how to win. So I win this game. I had to win the shot to win this game. John Thompson was in there.
Seeing the theme here. We're going to try to bring that theme back, the winning shot.
Yeah. So John Thompson was in the stands, and my mom was there, and they were going to pick 3 from DC, 3 from Maryland, and 3 from Virginia to play in this preliminary game. And they picked me. I go to center court. And it was that moment when my mom was looking at me like, like John Thompson, taking notes. And then it's like a Hollywood moment or something. They go, yo, we got 4 from Maryland. We got to send 1 back. And I'm just trying to, stand there. And I get tapped. I get tapped on the shoulder. Like, huh?
You like, nah, I'm sure.
It was like, sorry, man, you got it. So I didn't get to progress to the thing. And that was when I was like, I'm not going to play basketball in college.
They wouldn't have tapped me if I was gonna play in school.
Yeah, and I always wanted to like have fun. I really wanted to be like a globetrotter. Like I loved having fun. So when I started going on college recruits, that's when I first learned it was a business.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how they talked to me, what the requirements were. And I was like, yeah, I just want to, have fun. And I was a late bloomer too. Like, and I had what my boy Ray Watkins will coin later. I had a community college jump shot. so
you kind of have a low grade point average jumper. You know what I'm saying? The dude, who made a few mistakes. That's your jumper right there.
That's hilarious. So I didn't get like technical. I had like a low post game, but I'm 6'5", so this was at the era when guards were becoming my height, and I didn't have like a guard skill set. And so when I went to college, my first girlfriend played basketball, Letitia Bowman, and she taught me how to shoot a basketball properly. Yeah, shout out to Teach. And I almost cried, man. She showed me the form, and the ball felt weightless. And all I would do was just practice that because it was something that I just didn't. I felt like I had the cheat code. So my jumper actually got better in college, and I played against Monty Williams in high school, but he was I think he was a year or 2 older than me. Yeah, just a quick story about Monty. We used to have these game bells, which basically you played like at school while school was in session. And Monty went to a school called Potomac High School, and he was also a 4.0 GPA student. And Monty grabbed his rebound, did the outlet over the head to half court. Point guard didn't even move. He just threw it over his head backwards. And Monty caught the ball and dunked it backwards on us.
So, this is confession time. We tell the truth on the show. Where were you standing when this happened?
I was sitting on the bench. I was
wondering if you were the guy that thought you were going to catch that pass.
Oh, no, I'd have told you.
And there's body contact. I didn't know if he caught a body back before people caught body.
I saw the whole thing like this. I was like, I saw the rebound. I saw him go to half court. I never saw anybody run that fast before in my life. I was like, damn, this is I saw my man, get it. And I saw.
So what do you say? So look, I only hooped till I was about a freshman, right? Nobody got dunked on. But I retired before people were getting dunked on. What do you say to a man in the locker room after that happened? I assume y'all lost the game.
Yeah, we lost. Hell yeah, we lost.
Okay, so what do you say to the man after y'all get over the coach cussing y'all out because you didn't get back and whatever the coaches say? What do you say to the dude who that happened to, or like the film session? Bye.
It's kind of like, we weren't that advanced. We had film. Yeah, if we had film session and all that stuff, I would have been like, I'd probably be coaching or something. Like. I don't know. I mean, we just clowned them. We just clowned everybody. Like, man, we would smell them.
Anybody don't remember Monty Williams? I think he's the coach of the Suns now, right? I thought I saw him on the
Phoenix Suns. Yeah.
Yeah, he coached the Pelicans. He coached the Suns. He was a lottery pick coming out of Notre Dame. He had a little heart issue, messed around, had to sit out for a year till they got that and stuff. But so the old heads know Monty Williams. The young boys think of him as a coach. But anyway,
he was always a coach. He was always a coach. We were playing a rock, and he would give me some stuff like, here's how you score on a man taller than you. And it was like there were all these things that like let me know that I wasn't gonna play at the next level. Because I played against Grant Hill in high school too. I played against Grant Hill in a Christmas tournament. Yeah, and I had a girlfriend, a little hood girlfriend named Shabis, and she was, I'm coming to your game, And she was there with my mom, and Grant Hill comes out, and I had to check Grant Hill, and I feel like he was always 6'9" or 6'7" or something. I was probably 6'4", and I'm beating him up, and he crossed the ball over. And normally, if you cross over, I just have to go like from here to here. but I had to slide like two.
He took 3 steps for his crossover. So when he brought you back, it was a long
and I had to
jump.
slide. And then when he went up to shoot a J, it was like being at the rim. It was like there was no way I could stop it. All I could do was barely put my hand like by his face. And I told my girl, "Go home. You don't need to see this."
Go on, man. Yeah, she's like, hey, go, let's go. It's dangerous. Man. It's dangerous here. They've been fighting girlfriends. They've been jumping girlfriends. You got to go to the house. It's funny what you think like about when moments get embarrassing. So.
Oh, it was crazy. And it was like, and he was literally like using us to like find his spots. Like he was just doing these like drills that I had never seen before until I went to Notre Dame. Like he was just literally like just didn't even see.
There was a receiver at Notre Dame named Rakai Nelson. We digressed a little bit here, but he told me this story a long time. He said he played Kobe in high school and he held him to 50, right? And he said that they would come down and Kobe would take requests. They'd be like, "Dunk it, Kobe." He'd be like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Bam. He'd be like, "Reverse it, Kobe." "Okay, mama." Wow.
Yeah. I got this for you. Yeah.
That's crazy. So fast forward. Okay, you were an athlete in high school. You had basketball dreams, but you make a decision. I'm going academic. You pick Notre Dame. Notre Dame.
Nope. My mom, God bless her, she made me write a letter because she didn't feel like I was getting. And I hated when she made me do this, but she made me write a letter of all my accomplishments. Right? She made me write down what I had done, and we sent it to 15 schools. And Notre Dame was one of the schools. And Notre Dame then sent me an application asking me to apply. And I took it to my guidance counselor. My guidance counselor told me, "You'll never get in there. Why are you going to do that? And if you tell me I can never do something, I'm just going to do it." So I applied.
So let's get this right. You just write an open letter to these schools.
I wrote an open letter saying, "Hey, my name." And I don't even remember what was in the letter. I just remember it was a contentious moment between me and my mom because it was like extra work. I didn't want to do it because I was getting recruited by like Division II schools like Shippensburg or Manhattan. I remember Shippensburg took me and it was a salt and pepper concert. And I was like, "All right, I might go here." Years later, I ended up performing there. All the schools that recruited me, I ended up performing at. And but those just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like the college experience I wanted. So my mom made me write a letter to 15 schools, and I got accepted into Princeton, Notre Dame.
So I just want to make sure I get it. So you just write a letter. You don't apply. You write a letter. You send it to a mission. Say, "Look, hey, I'm Owen Smith. This is what I've done in life. This is what I'm doing." And how do you finish it? Saying, "Would you like me to apply?" Or you just let them know who the hell you are, and that's it.
I just feel like y'all are missing out. And I kind of did that to get this job for the Last O.G. too. It's kind of a weird thing.
You're gonna get there. You're going too fast.
I know. But yeah, it was like.
So you write that, and that's interesting because I never heard anybody doing that. And then they ask you to apply.
Yeah.
So that's game. That's that hustle game, like Ice-T. Like you make these people feel like they're missing out on you. But I'm not even just gonna apply. I'm just gonna let you get this letter. I'm gonna start off with the essay, and if you like the essay, then I'll apply. But if you don't like the essay, I'm not going to waste my time and send you my $200 or whatever it costs to apply to the school. I like that.
I ended up,
so then Notre Dame, Princeton, all different things there. How did you decide Notre Dame?
I wanted to go to California, but my mom had a rule: you can't go further than a day's drive away because
it's like Father Soren. He wanted to open up Notre Dame in California. I digress.
Yeah, her brother went away to school in California. And she just was like, I don't like that. I don't like not being able to get to you on a day's drive. So Notre Dame was the furthest day's drive. And at that time, like I said, I grew up in this like Black Smurf village. Like it was beautiful, but I just wanted to experience something different. Because all my friends were going to HBCUs. And I was like, I just want to see how. I just felt like I wanted to try something else. Because I always kind of felt like an outsider. Even like when I was in Maryland, because I got no eyebrows. I'm West Indian, so I would be in a black neighborhood where people were like, "Where you from?" Like from here. Nah, man. Where you from?
I've known you for this long, never noticed it. Now I'm not gonna be able to stop looking at you.
Yeah. Even my son be like, "Daddy, where your eyebrows?" I'm like, "They there. They just
It's just light skinned.
I got light skinned eyebrows, and so I always felt like even though I love where I grew up, I just never felt like I was like from there. And then the school I went to wasn't in the, like I didn't go to middle school with those guys or elementary. You know what I mean? I always felt like I was just dropped into like a new environment. So I said, let me try, something else. And so So
you tried something else and you chose something else. You come to Notre Dame, which is not an all black school, which is not you know,
Yeah.
whatever. Everybody had
I didn't even know where it
eyebrows. I
was.
mean,
I didn't even know it was in Indiana. That's how
you just
crazy it
knew.
was. I just knew the helmets, the gold helmets. All
Okay,
my
so you
boys
like
thought it
did
was
you like the sports teams? Was that part of your equation too? You want to go somewhere with good
I just
sports?
knew it. I mean, I wasn't like I liked the sports team. I just knew that Notre Dame and gold helmets, and my boys, we all thought that it was in Baltimore. We were like, where that's at? Yeah, Baltimore.
Going
Then
up
we
the
found out
street,
Indiana.
which was far. You know, high school that's far. You're like, man, Baltimore, that's pretty far. Let's go up there. So you come on to school.
Yeah.
You're a
First
Japanese
person I go
major.
see. Oh, that was because Christine Swanson, who's a great director out here now.
Yeah.
And she's married to Mike Swanson, who also graduated from Indy. So, first thing I did was I seeked out Monty Williams because I knew he went there. And I was like, yo, what's up? And when he first saw me, I thought he was going to be like, yo, what's up? And he was like, can you curse on here?
Yeah.
He goes, man, what the fuck you doing here? My heart just sank like, oh. Like,
Monty wasn't a nice dude in college, man. He wasn't a nice person.
He was nice to me, but he was
mean to people. He was mean.
Bro, I would say this. He was from the area. That's how we communicated love. Like, it was very abrasive. Like, that's what I love about being in Brooklyn. Like, Tracy Morgan's crew, they all kind of remind me of how I was like talked to by like black men growing up. It felt mean. I don't know. It was always just urgency. Like, you got to get them braids, Pop. It's like, why are you yelling at me about something positive?
You know, it's funny. We grew up the older generation, like smiling was a sign of weakness and stuff. Everything had to be driven home with force and tough and bravado. And they would call that toxic masculinity today. But back then, it was just being a grown dude. I didn't know my dad I saw pictures of my dad smiling when he was a kid. And I was like, he used to smile.
What made you smile?
When I was I just thought he was tough all the time. So, So anyway, let's move into Notre Dame. You come in Notre Dame. You're a guy from Maryland. You were an athlete. You decided to give up the sports because, you know, until you became bookstore All-American, you come in, you choose to be a Japanese major, right? So you're a Japanese major, which I used to always think you were
finance and Japanese. Yeah.
I used to think you were joking when I thought, to me, when I would ask you a major, you say that Japanese. I thought that was your way of saying none of my business. That's like,
no, that's hilarious.
Japanese. Okay, cool. Just like my kids, where are you leaving? I said, I always tell them I'm going to see a man about a horse. It's none of your business. I don't know about the horses, but it's none of your business, family. I'm grown. I don't answer questions to children. So I felt like that was your way of saying it. But then I'm like, this dude keepps saying it. Either he has a good memory or he actually is learning Japanese. So
no, I love it. Yeah.
So you did all that stuff. I'm not even gonna try to speak my Japanese. I don't know any words. You probably don't either. But we gave it up.
Konnichiwa right now.
Konnichiwa. Yeah. I started to say it, but I didn't know if that was Japanese. I didn't want to be racially insensitive. Okay. We digress. But for again, people who don't know Owen decides that he wants to take this Japanese finance degree from Notre Dame in cold South Bend, Indiana. Yeah. He decides, I like telling jokes instead, right? So you transitioned from academia back into the entertainment world. So talk to us about your transition into Hollywood and becoming a stand-up comic and all that kind of stuff. How did you make that switch, and at what point during your college career did you decide that was for you?
I would say, quite honestly, nothing like a breakup. A breakup will push you into wanting to do, something you always wanted to do. So I knew I wanted to be a comedian ever since I was 9 years old. I just didn't tell anybody. But I was always, first person I saw do it was Eddie Murphy, Delirious, when I was 9. I didn't even know what it was. I just was like, man, I'm the same complexion as that dude. And I make people laugh like that. So I was like, what is this called? And then I had these Christian babysitters. I went to a Christian school in elementary school. And sometimes I would spend the night there when my mom, I don't know, needed a break or went on a date or whatever. And so Eddie Murphy Delirious came on. And whenever
Christian
he would curse,
let you watch Delirious?
No, whenever he would curse, they would turn the channel, but they would be crying, laughing, ooh, Christian, people who go to church, they have the best laughs. So these gospel comedians, it's a whole niche of comedians who are very successful performing in those spaces. So he would say, his first joke, I think it was it Mr. Well, when he got to Mr. T and all that stuff, doing his impressions, they were like crying. They would turn the channel. Ooh, y'all can't be hearing these Christmas. And I just never forgot that image and that feeling. And I asked, what's he doing? And they said he's a comedian. That's what I knew. I said, that's what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. I said, just not in that outfit. Like I didn't know that was
just
the
not
uniform.
With the zippers and the leather.
Yeah,
that part missed me with that, but
yeah, no, I got a high booty. I can't wear red leather pants. And I got knock knees and shit. It's just not a good look. So I didn't know if that was the uniform that you had to wear.
Yeah, like that was like the flight attendant joint.
right. Flight attendant.
Because they all did it, right? They all had some crazy stuff on.
Yeah. Because of that leather, if you look, you can almost trace it back. Most black comedians, they're special. They wear some type of leather as like homage, or they were also
nothing like being under that spotlight, nervous with hot leather on. But half of them.
That's how amazing he is, man. He was able to, and he had a Jerry curl. Two things that was sweat, but he had some sort of product in his hair. Yeah, and he was effortless. It was crazy. I remembered every joke. I would recite it at school. They wouldn't let me watch it there, so I lied to my aunt. Everybody she was the only relative that had HBO. And I said, I gotta watch something for school on HBO. And I knew it came on at this is back when the TV guys were like,
it don't come on till 1 a.m.
Yeah, it came on at 2. It came on at 4 in the morning.
I got this.
And it was like Christmas. I couldn't sleep. And then I woke up. I couldn't sleep and it came on and I'm sitting there. And that's when HBO, the TV had to warm up. That's why the beginning is like snow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching. He gets into it and my aunt sitting right next to me. And he says the first curse word. I tense up and wait for her. She just turned when she gets don't tell your mama here. I'm going to bed. And she went to bed and I just absorbed it, man.
She well, I don't know what type of school my sister got my son going to, my nephew going to, but hell, if he said it was for school.
She was great. That's she was beautiful. Shout out.
So you grow up, you do that, 9 years old, you're in school. And so the whole time you're in college, you're thinking it, or are you saying that you had to come back to the dream?
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
That was your goal.
I just didn't know how to, I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have anyone in my family in show business. So, I was, my plan was to get this degree because I was raised by a single mom. So my plan was, it would be a nice nod on her journey in raising me to have a son who graduated from a 4-year degree that everybody heard of. So I knew I was going to get this degree. But after that, my plan was always to figure out how to do the stand-up thing. But after when I was home after freshman year in that summer, and I was working at the Department of Energy. My mom got me a summer job with that Department of Energy, and I used to make everybody laugh for a lunch break. And this big dude named Kevin, he hit me up on Facebook not too long ago. He was like, "Yo, you funny." He's like, "I'm gonna take you to this comedy club." And I was like, "What's that?" And in true DC fashion, he was like, "I'm gonna take you to this comedy club. Pick me up." So he made me drive.
I'm gonna take you, scoop me,
right.
Be there at 9, grab a couple sandwiches, and meet me.
Yeah. So, but he introduced me to this open mic, man. It's called Open Mic, and I got there, and this comedian named Chris Paul was there. Well, I got there. It was a black comedy club. It was a Comedy Connection. It was in Greenbelt, Maryland. Outside was a big picture of Martin Lawrence. And this is when Dave Chappelle was just coming up, and Tony Woods and all these
before Dave Chappelle,
great DC. I saw Dave Chappelle get booed in this room, and
that's what's up.
Yeah, it's a great story. And then so I go in there, and this thing starts at 8. We get there at 7:55. The show don't start till probably 9 o'clock. I signed up first on the list. I'm sitting back there with the bubble guts and all that. He doesn't call me. The whole night goes by and he doesn't call my name. And so, I was like, "Yo, am I tripping?" So I came back the next week by myself. And I signed my name up on several different lines now. And she still don't call my name.
Thinking so if he skip around, he might skip.
Yeah. And I go up to him afterwards and I go, "Hey, man, I've been coming here the last 2 weeks and I was signing up for open mic and you haven't called my name." And he goes, "Oh, I just didn't know you. Come back next week." So I went back the next week. That was my first lesson in showbiz. It's like, he just didn't know me. So I went back the next week, and as fate would have it, I go, he calls me up first, because that's the spot when they don't know if you're going to be funny. And I do my thing. I get some laughs. I was talking way too fast, but I got some laughs. But when I got off stage, all these comedians were like extremely like just welcoming and like, yo, man, that was funny. Slow down. You should talk more about this. Da, da, da. And I was like, I'm home, man. Because like, you know, when you play basketball, nobody was that welcoming to you until you like dunked on them.
Because it's more competition to people, yeah.
Yeah, but immediately it was like this embrace. So then I'm sitting there watching the other comedians go up. It just felt like this sense of community. And it was like all these, it was a black club. And it was like, you know, black men being encouraging black men. Like I'd never seen like any of this. And then one of the comedians who goes up, is a guy named Mike Brooks. And I was like, I went to middle school with this dude. And like, that's my man. And so when he got off stage, he was like, yo, what's up, Joe? And he showed me the DC, Maryland comedy circuit that whole summer. And my goal was to get paid. I just wanted to get paid.
My fault. Are you out of college? Or are you an intern?
I'm freshman. It's between freshman and sophomore year.
Oh, early in college. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even supposed to be in the club.
No. I'm 18, 19. I turned 19 that July 3rd. And then he at the end of the summer, I do a gig, and Pops, shout out to Pops, he gave me crumpled up $25 in my hand. And so I went back to Notre Dame my sophomore year, thinking I was a professional comedian. Like you couldn't tell me nothing. And making people in DC laugh was like one of the hardest things ever, because
they don't want.
We used to say, yeah, they don't. It's like they most of them were for the government. So we used to say they close to the bullshit. So you can't bullshit. Like you gotta keep it real. And we were doing rooms like cabaret rooms that weren't set up for comedy properly, where people were facing their back to the stage, they eating crab legs, they doing whatever they doing. So you had to like, and so I had like a bunch of adventures with Mike, and just like, I don't know, we were just figuring it out together. He'd been doing it, you know, a little bit longer than me, and I met a bunch of other comedians that I'm still friends with to this day. You know, on this journey, and I feel like that was the summer I saw Chappelle get booed. I think it was that summer. Yeah, it was. He went up, and the crowd was booing him. He kept going, "I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be famous." He kept saying that. F y'all, I'm gonna be famous.
Was he trash that day? Was he trash? Real talk. Was he trash?
He just wasn't connecting. I think he was, because he was later on. He had just done, I think, Robin Hood Men in Tights, so he was just kind of getting the nod from like the mainstream world. This was like literally a black, like blue collar, maybe middle class.
Because Chappelle is about our age, right? Or maybe a little older.
He's my exact age, except his birthday's in August. I'm July, so I'm a month older than him.
So you're 48 this year?
I'll be 48 this year, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Chappelle's right with us. You never know with show business people, because, you know, well, we're in school doing stuff. They're out there working, and you don't even realize it. So, that's the thing about being a comic. You talk about this for a minute. I mean, I like to think I'm funny too. I try to tell jokes, but I need to have interaction with folks, right? So I've done some stuff where I MC events. I've done auctioneer stuff, but I'm not a stand-up and just talk to type on stage. I need to talk to you. I'll be funny because of something you said. I can think of something and be funny, whatever. How is it to get out there with the crowd in a town that you're not from? You don't know the demographic sometimes. I mean, you know it, but you don't know. You know what I'm saying? You don't know the field. You just said you did all these different colleges. Now, you know college kids, but if you go to Tuskegee, that's a different college crowd than when you go to St. Mary's College and different things like that. How is it to just kind of just warm up and just do you when you don't really know what the feeling, the vibe you're going to get back is going to be? Or do you just kind of react?
No, that's the difference between a professional and, a funny.
If I told you, I had to kill you. If I told you the secret, so that's
it's kind of like it's kind of like the athlete thing, right? Like it's a small amount of people who make it to the NBA compared to all the people that try to play basketball, right? So they all figured out their unique way of existing in that space. It's not one way of doing it, but you do have to figure out how you can make strangers laugh the same way or harder, laugh just as hard as the people who know you and love you would. you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's different for every person, you know. Some people hide behind a character, some people, and like the art form changes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, so it's all different for me. Like I said, like I growing up, like I never felt, I always kind of felt like an outsider. So it's kind of easy for me to go into any place and just like take it over and do that. But yeah, but it's different for everybody, you know. I'm working with, like I said, I'm working with Tracy Morgan now. And he has a different approach to it, but.
So with you, you know, again, we've been friends the whole time. And I remember when, you know, you were doing comedy clubs in Chicago and you were doing different things here. And it was more, you know, starving artists, so to speak, you know, what you were doing. And you stayed with it. Like you know, you have a Notre Dame degree. You could have fallen back and said, I want to go do something in finance or whatever. I don't know if you ever did do dual things or whatever. I'm forgetting the history, but
for like 11 months, I was like a financial planner.
Or whatever. But you know, you could joke your way into some good money in financial planning though. If you got people, you know, except for people like this is my money, man. This ain't funny. But you come in there and you did that. I don't seem like 10 years. Like you was kind of in the struggle. Am I overestimating it or underestimating? When I say in the struggle, before you really felt like I'm making it, man, I got it. Our bills is paid all the time. You know, how long do you think that struggle took you? Am I tripping?
No, I mean, I feel like when I lived I guess like being like the first person in my family in show business, and like, I guess it depends on what you define making it as, right? So
that's true.
I never made less than 6 figures a year. Once let me think. Since I want to say since '97, like I never made less than 6. So for some people that's successful.
No, that's successful. I mean, that's competing with the jobs.
Yeah, and like I always had the same phone number and email address. Like all my friends who were in the marketplace, every 3 months, I'm going back to school. I got a new job. I kept getting all these emails. Like I was the only guy that, like, it was like ironic. Like I was the only guy that stayed the same. You know what I mean? Like as far as like, you know, that stuff. I was always just, you know, trying to do this. But like, I figured out. I learned how, like, once I discovered the college market, I started making, you know, I had some really good years, like financially, but then you just start having those questions of like quality of life, right? Because like being on the road all the time, you start, am I missing out on having a family or whatever your thing is? So, but I grinded in Chicago for 5 years, but I was like I should have been buying property and stuff when I was making money like that, but I was spending it on silly
leather outfits for the
nah. But I would buy ridiculous things and then having to pay taxes and not like just not being like that financially like literate, which is ironic because I was a
finance major. Shout out to Notre Dame finance majors.
You know what I mean? But like I just was like, why is it so hard for me to get ahead? You know, like I made this much money on paper. I paid this much money on taxes. What did I spend this much stuff on? So, well, I think my hardest years.
I sold you short. I guess that to me,
well, you got to remember, I'll tell you this. I was doing stand-up. I was doing commercials. I was doing voiceover work. And then I would act and things. So, like, I had 1 year where I became like, and I call it like a lot of this stuff found money. Because that's the thing. The only thing about show business is like you versus out there, I say like just like a 9 to 5 or whatever that means today. Is a 9 to 5, you can kind of schedule how your money's supposed to come. As long as you behave a specific way as you're an employee to keep that money coming. In show business, you can have a standard thing of where your money's going to come from. So say I make my money from stand-up, but then I'll do a blockbuster voiceover and I'll be like, they pay me $50,000 for 15 minutes? And then, they doing that again? So they start to go, all right, I'm going to make $50,000 in blockbuster every year. And I got another $30,000 for this car commercial. And then I was getting $50,000. So I was making money from commercials, but it was found money. Like you can't because you don't know
it's a
when you're
lick.
gonna book it.
Like we call it a lick.
So
you hit them one
so I'd
time,
have a
but you
year.
started hitting them consistently one time.
Yeah, I'd have a year where I'd make that, and then I go, okay, I got to get this stand up up. And so, how do I get this stand up money up? I go, okay, I'll do the college market because I thought I could build an audience and kind of follow the Dane Cook approach. But I wasn't like getting fans that would buy hard tickets. I wasn't like, I didn't, because I didn't get into stand up to be famous. My goal was to be good. And a lot of my friends who could play the fame game a little more, they had more success at getting people to their show because they weren't shy about come see me, or they figured out how to put that arm into place. And that's something I just always shied away from. So, but I just didn't know that was part of it. I thought if you got good, that other part would happen.
Other stuff will come. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? I think that comes into the education portion of it too. Not to I don't know the background of any comedian, so I'm not trying to make any statement. They could all be PhD students, but I just think in general, you go to college, you're approaching it more from a financial, like, how do I make myself make some, a good career out of this? And you are going to be opportunistic and see it because, as your friend that, sometimes we go months or maybe even a year without speaking. And then I see something, I pick you up, call you, whatever, hear about something. And, you've moved from here to California. So things are a little bit more difficult. I noticed the transition.
That was my hardest time. Yeah. When I moved to Cali.
Yeah. So you get out there.
Can I tell you a story? Can I tell you a story? Here. I haven't been able to tell anybody. So okay. So what you need to understand is, so in 2000, I was going to move out to Los Angeles because I felt like I had pretty much done everything I could do in Chicago. I got offered a morning radio gig to be a morning person, I think on V103 in Chicago. I did like a test week, and my numbers were great. But I had to wake up at like 4 a.m, read these newspapers, do all this stuff. And I was just like, my body was in shock. But they made me an offer, and this is right when I think Clear Channel was buying up everything or whatever. So, but this agent named Don Buchwald calls me out of the blue, and he goes, Owen, I'd like to negotiate your deal. At that time, I had just shot 10 national commercials for Blockbuster, and they were supposed to air during the Super Bowl. And I did it with this guy named TJ Jagodowski, who, if you watch those Sonics commercials about, that Sonics, he's one of the guys. Yeah. And so we did 10 of those. And
the driver, is he the driver or the other dude?
He's the other dude.
He's the other dude. Okay.
Yeah. And I was getting paid twice because it was a video game spots where they used my hands as I was like a hand model. It was like this weird thing. So my face was put on this thumb and TJ's on this thumb, and the thumbs would talk. And that was the game. We did 10 of them. And so I was going to get paid twice.
Thumbs. Oh, do I have nice thumbs? Do you think I could be a thumb dude?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was like a hand model. All this, you find out about all these ways to make money, and so it's crazy. So when I did the math on 10 national commercials that was it was a campaign, and it was supposed to air during the Super Bowl. I was like, I'm gonna make at least $250,000 off this run, and that's counting it low, right? So when Don Buchwald called me and says, I want to negotiate your deal to be a morning radio person on V103, the offer came, and I think they offered me like $40,000 a year. I told TJ I want $250,000. Like, I was really like arrogant.
They offered you $40,000 a year?
I said I want $250,000 or it's a no-go. I'm moving to LA.
What was the offer though? I missed that.
It was probably like $40,000. So then TJ, he calls me back. He goes, Owen, I got him up to 110. I go, nope. He calls me back. Owen, I got him up to 160. Nope. He calls me back. Owen, I got him up to 220 plus remotes. You'll be making $250,000 a year. You've never done morning radio. Take this. This is a great opportunity. I said, if it's not $250,000, I'm not doing it. I'm going to LA. Now, this, mind you, I think I have these 10 commercials on back. So I say, nope. And as a leap of faith, I drive my 1991 Honda Accord with over 100,000 miles on it out to LA. I stop at the Grand Canyon. I yell at the Grand Canyon, I'm going to be famous, all that stuff. drive, get to California.
You got to say
yeah.
it to your Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, I get to the end of that story. Chappelle comes off stage, sits down next to me, like nobody wanted to touch him because nobody wanted to get that bomb on him, and I didn't understand why he didn't leave the club. Tony Woods goes up after him, destroys, gets a standing ovation, comes off stage. The two of them leave together, get in the car, and Tony drives, and I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like I couldn't believe, but like that's when Dave got his Mark Twain Prize, what he gave Tony Woods a shout out. Like that was kind of like one of his early comedy mentors. So I witnessed like Tony showed him how to win a room like that over, just like in real time. It was incredible. But so I get out to LA and I get a call from the copywriters who wrote the spot, and they go, "We got some bad news. There's a legal dispute in Viacom. Our commercial was approved first, but they shot this other thing called Thumb Wars, so they're not going to air any of your commercials." So all I had was the session fee in my bank account. I had like, I don't know, I had like $12,000 or something in my account. And I got towed and all that stuff, and we can move. So I had maybe like $7,000, I don't know, left like to my name, something like that. No radio gig and the spots.
You can't call them back and say, or your pride hurt too much.
No, because I really didn't want to do it at that time. Because I was like, if I'm getting offered this much now, I could do a radio gig when I'm 50. Like in my head, I was like, I don't want to do radio right now. So no, but I was in LA, so I had to like kind of start over, and it took me like 2 years before I booked the spot in California, because they just had to just adjust to my look and like my thing, like how do I make stuff funny, all of that stuff. So those 2 years were tough.
How do you transition though? So you're doing the comedy stuff. I mean, how does that work? You're in the entertainment field, so you're stand-up comic. That's who you are at your core. And then okay, next thing you know, you're doing some voiceover stuff. I mean, does somebody say, "Hey man, your voice sounds pretty good, you should do this"? Or are you back sitting here thinking, "All right, I'm between gigs. What can I do for money?" Then I see you doing, the commercials and all the different things. How does that meld, and how does that morph into where you are today as a writer, as a very accomplished writer, which seems like that's maybe the high, the apex? Is that where it's at, or is being something else higher than that?
I mean, it all depends on what you want, right? I guess I don't know how I ended up writing. So you get voiceover and stuff, you just show up, right? You just keep showing up. So I took a commercial acting class. And the best thing that ever could have happened to me is I was in it with other people who wanted to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So you instantly have a peer group. But I also got to see kind of like the competition. I was like, I got to see like, I was like, I could do this. So, you just get this. It's access is everything, right? So you just get this renewed, like when I would go back to Notre Dame games, there was a period where they would let me watch games from the field, and I would see a bunch of children all on the field, and none of them looked like me. And I was like, what a great experience it is for these kids to just see football from this point of view. Mm-hmm. See that it's not only the players that are working, they can see the camera guys, they can see the coaches, they can hear stuff, they can smell. Like it was just exposure so that they kind of know if I want to pursue football, I don't just have to be a player. Or they could see how being a player at the finest level, like what are some things you know what I mean? They could just see
just
it.
The intricacies, smell it, feel it. Get the emotion.
And so I like stepped outside of myself a lot of times, would just take a class that I had. I would be scared to do it or just not know if I'd be good enough. But I'd always be in there like, oh man, these other people were scared to do it too. And you can start to see what makes it. And it's like, oh man. So like, I just knew it was going to happen. Like I know we'd be doing commercials. So then I started doing those. I started booking TV, but like my passion wasn't really like, I love acting, but I don't love like, I'd much rather do stand-up than a play just because of, but I do, but then I love the emotional work and all that stuff that,
and that check
you can discover,
and that check.
But for me the check, but I'm a stand-up first. So it's a different muscle. So I didn't really, I could have done the acting thing and I tried it several times over and whenever I hang with, you go, is this my tribe? It's like I don't have the same needs as actors. I'm kind of, my frequency is more in the stand-up space. That's no shade against actors, but it's just
no, I get it. It's just that's not your thing,
yeah.
man. Some people like to
Yeah.
golf, some people like to shoot pool.
Yeah, I feel like if I was a couple of inches shorter, I might be an actor. Like most.
Yeah, it's a tough role for
leading
6'5" because you're dealing with all these 5'3" dudes.
Yeah,
I mean,
something. It's fun to figure out how to be a 6'5" leading man, but like for me, like I want to be in the lead. Like I don't want to be, black best friend. I don't want to make a career out of giving people white.
I always say I'm too sexy for that, man. I make people look so little. I got to be I would have to be somebody's bruh man or some dummy. You know what I mean? They can make me a big dummy. But if it pays well, I would be a big dummy now. Don't get me wrong. I don't have a problem.
Hilarious.
Let me tell a joke or two while I'm out there. Never has something to do. So now you've been writing. So you've written for a lot of shows. You've written for Blackish, Survivor's Remorse, Arsenio Hall Show, Light Up Show with Larry Moore, Whitney. Everybody Hates Chris. You've written, done stand up on Conan O'Brien, The Late Show, Stephen Colbert. I mean, you're on the what's my man's podcast? The Joe Rogan. You do his podcast quite a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you're famous. You're involved with a lot of famous things. As you mentioned, you didn't go do this to be famous, but now you're on a show. The Last O.G. You're writing for that. You took over for one of the Wayans brothers, I believe, was your predecessor. You're the showrunner now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, talk to me about what is that? What is a showrunner? How does that? What is that?
Showrunner is, the best way I could explain it. Do you remember Black Images?
Yes.
You remember Black Images at Notre Dame? It was a talent show we did. Mm-hmm. So Black Images, when I was 19, that's the first time I did stand up on Notre Dame's campus, right? Mm-hmm. Then I think the following year or the next 2 years, like I ran it. You know what I'm saying? So basically, everybody who wanted to perform in it, I picked who they would be. I kind of helped shape what they would do. I shaped when they would go on. You know what I'm saying? And I just basically produced the whole show from top to bottom. And I think I participated in it. The first time I did it, it was okay. The second time I did it, people were like, this is the best Black Images ever been because it wasn't too long. Everything was impactful. Everything kind of went. And so that's a micro scale of what a showrunner is. The networks, they hire you, they put you in charge to shape what's the season going to be about. Mm-hmm. And then you tell them your vision for how many episodes do we get? 10. Well, I want the episodes to do this. I want to take Tracy's character this way. And they love that. And it was this big interview process. But the way I got that gig was to be a showrunner is a coveted position in Hollywood because you can be the most famous person in the world, but in traditional Hollywood, you cannot get a television show on the air unless you have a showrunner attached. And to find a showrunner who believes in your project just as much as you do, and when the showrunner has their things that they may want to make, it's a tough thing. So I didn't even know that was a job. I didn't know that was a thing, but this that access thing, right? And so like once I started being on set, I was like, who makes all the decisions? Like who's saying I can't say this? Who's saying I can't say, who is doing that? And
you're the boss. So now, if this show does well, which it will do, make sure you tune in. Everybody starts watching. It does well. Yes. So now you're coveted. So now someone wants to pitch a show, and they're going to come and somebody will be shaking their booty in front of your desk trying to see if you can make things happen for them. I'm just saying, you become that guy with a little bit of power or influence now that people want to go see and they can attach their name to you. So that's good. So you run the show. Do you write the jokes at all, or do you have writers that write you?
Both. First, my intention this season was to make sure that Tracy Morgan was happy because he, wasn't exactly excited about where the direction the show was going. So I worked closely with him to make sure we captured his voice, and that he felt heard, and was very happy with what we did. And so the reason why I signed on to the show is because I'm an East Coast dude. I love what the show was about, second chances. And when I watched the show, I was surprised at how vulnerable Tracy is and available he is on camera. So it had like all of these real moments, and he can make the dictionary funny. So I was excited that, but in order for me to get the gig, the opportunity came about, and my manager at the time was like, "You can't be a showrunner because you've never been a showrunner." I was like, "What kind of catch-22 mess is that?" Because people would ask me all the time if I would run their show, like, because I started getting a reputation from writing. I guess my approach to work. You don't know how people see you. You just, if I'm on a gig, I'm just trying to serve.
No, I get it. Sometimes you do the equivalent of coaching, man. You're like, man, like you said, Monty always was a coach because he was telling people this, telling people that. So you could just see the characteristics, and he wasn't doing it because he was training to be a head coach in the NBA. That's just his natural demeanor, which is why he's a head coach in the NBA. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and so I think that was kind of like, and my mom told me this, and my wife told me this. They were like, "You should be a showrunner," like just how my approach, because I have a way I know how to like order things and put, I don't have to be the funniest person all the time, but I can be. It depends on what's needed, right? So, so the opportunity came about. They were looking for a showrunner, and the executive producer Eric Tannenbaum said to my manager, "Have him write me a letter as to why he thinks he should be showrunner." And it took me back to college.
Mom's trained me this when I was 18 years old.
Yeah, my opening line was something like, "You may not think," what did I say? It was something so gangster, like, "You may not know it at the time, but I'm the right person for this job," or something like that. Like, "You need me for this gig," or whatever. And I just started running down like my experience, and because it's a thing, especially with a lot of, I would say, Black creatives, the stuff we have to do to get paid and survive. Like, we develop all of these skill sets, but they're not necessarily legitimized in the way that they should be. You have to constantly tell people who you are, right? Because they're not going to check for you. They might just think that's a Black show you do that. But it's like, yo, man, I work in all these spaces. I work with all these people. I've created these, I know how to do this. And he got the letter, and next thing I know, I'm having an interview with his production team, Monkey Paw, which is Jordan Peele's people. And they're like, "Tell us how you see the show. Tell us." And so I told them. They loved it, but I didn't hear anything. And then they go, "You got to meet with Tracy Morgan." And then I had a meeting with Tracy. He was like, "Question number 1, Owen." He just went right in. And he had
that's just when you talk who we see on. That's who he is as a person. That's not acting or anything. That's not in character. That's who he is, right?
Yeah, no, he's the real deal. So I feel like I don't know what Jackie Gleason was like, but I feel like I'm talking like a Black Jackie Gleason. Like, he's an extremely smart person, and he knows how people see him, and he's okay with that. Like,
I laugh every time I hear him talk, just because he's just so funny.
Authentic. He only wants to be of service, man. He's a really cool cat. So he was impressed, and I ended up getting the gig. But again, it started from me having to sell myself. And I think it also comes from just being a tall dude, a bigger dude. You don't walk around it always felt like insecurity to me to be like, I did this, I did that, you know what I mean? But in certain moments I had to go, "Hey, so y'all don't miss me. I did this, I prefer for someone else, to say, "Hey, he did," So, but so I had to write the letter, and then they asked me to write the first. Then the network asked me to write an outline of what the first episode would be like. So these tasks they gave me, I was able to, check those.
You like, "Hey, if y'all don't hire me, I want my stuff back. Don't be trying to use my."
I know, man, I really wanted the gig, man. I really, for some reason, I just really wanted to do it, and I felt like, now that I'm married with 2 children, I go, man, because I can still always do stand up, but I was like, I'd like to be able to figure out this world, and I have so many ideas. I reached out to you. You helped me so much, and that's the other thing. I'm not afraid to. I'm learning not to be afraid to ask for help. But you helped me so much. Shape a show. When I was given it,
still mad that thing didn't come out. I was looking for.
They didn't figure that.
You have fun with that. It's so much fun. First of all, obviously our friendship. I like to be able to talk to you about something. It's great to be able to do it because, I'm one of those dudes who sits back and predicts the end of a show. Like I'm NBC writers, I pretty much got y'all down. So if I watch a show on NBC with my wife, I'd be like, him did it. Nope, that dude did it. This is what's gonna happen. This is the thing. But I enjoy it. So I really enjoy our conversations. I mean, I think it was the Whitney show was the first time we started talking about your work and doing shows and trying to throw things out there. And I'm just hoping that I can see it. I don't care. I just hope that I can see something. I talked to him about that. I knew that, So we could do some fun things that way. But it's great to do it. So I mean, if I'm looking at your career and everybody's listening to the show, you think about it. Here you are, an aspiring high school athlete. You have to do a lot of self-reflection and figure out, okay, this isn't going to work out. I got a better opportunity in life if I go and I pursue the academic world and maybe go to a better school. But even though I'm going to the academic world, I'm still going to chase my childhood dream, which was comedy, which I'm sure probably was even higher than sports at that point, to come out and do it. And then you have faith in yourself, right? So now you have faith and you go out, you do stand-up. I know your mom was like, I did not send you to Notre Dame for you to be telling jokes, because you could have went anywhere to tell jokes and do whatever. But then you made it work, right? So you take that Notre Dame degree and you make it also work, because I'm sure it gives you a little bit more credibility. You're in a world that's dominated by not us and people that are going to question mark, and they look and say, well, this dude is Notre Dame educated. And now you've gone from stand-up comedy tour guy to voiceover guy to thumb model to, that dude from the commercial. And now you hear you're a showrunner, right? Yeah. You're kind of the top of the food chain, so to speak, of what you're trying to go do. So, what do you say to the guys in high school? So most of my shows are about sports, right? So right now there's some stuff coming up with image and likeness, name, image, and likeness. The Supreme Court's supposed to make a ruling on this Wednesday, and then things are going. I have a young athlete that's going to be hitting college pretty soon in my family, my son, other kids out there. And a lot of people listen to my show, again, are for the sports stint. They're probably wondering, why'd you bring Owen on here? One, I think he's an interesting story, and I think I like to see the thing of success. But now that we're going to be starting to take some of this show business and it's going to cross over to the athlete, right? Because they always say all entertainers want to be athletes and all athletes want to be entertainers, or they do the same thing with rappers and stuff like that. People want to do the other part of it. But now we're going to get a chance to meld that. So, I had talked to you about this. You weren't very familiar about it before we started with the show today, that the name, image, and likeness is going to be coming up. But just with your expertise and what you've done and your journey that you've been on, what advice do you give to kind of the young athlete that might be trying to think, okay, how do I get my name out there, and how do I try to find a way to stay true to who I am, but still maximize, while I'm hot and I'm relevant?
Ooh, I mean, getting your name out there is one thing, but owning your name is another thing. So you just have to, I would say, keep being great, get known for the thing that you're known for, but, try to have a plan beyond that. Like, the two people that I've done business with, I just sold a movie with Steph Curry's company, because they understand ownership and content. They have a great deal over at Sony. And LeBron's company, they are putting content, in the world. And so just know that your name and your brand is extremely valuable. And that's going to help you get meetings. That's going to help people want to meet with you, because you are X, Y, and Z from such and such. But then what do you want to do after that? And it doesn't have to be in the entertainment field. It could be in any
now,
space.
Are there people out there? Because, you're my people out there, and I have other people in my network I call and say, man, hey, I'm doing this podcast. What do you think? And you say, oh, man, this is what your goals are with that podcast. That's easy. Here's what you need to do. Get yourself some cups and some shirts. And I haven't done none of that yet, but I'm going to do it. Here's the merchandise.
Oh, yeah, I was telling you. Yeah. Well, I was telling you where the real money is made.
Yeah, where the money's made. This is how you kind of break it down. So, these kids are going to come out there and they're going to have, opportunity. They could do a weekly podcast. They could do a weekly show. They could do some stuff and kind of get set up.
Oh, absolutely. I always wondered this. I wanted to ask you this, because I think I read, what the first show I wrote, Deion Sanders, first sitcom episode I wrote, Deion Sanders acted in it. So I read his book, and I understood he turned down his football scholarship so he could take endorsements when he was in college. And I was, always wondered about that. Yeah. So because he had a baseball, was playing baseball and football in college. So he didn't have to, am I getting choppy? He didn't have to, he didn't take his football scholarship. And so I always remember that moment when they always show the kids having having to accept that scholarship. But I wondered if you did create your own business or whatever, like now.
Yeah, so you sign over your life, and then you say, hey, I'm taking this education and do whatever.
Could you turn down a scholarship and go, I'm gonna just walk on and get,
yeah, you could.
Yeah,
you absolutely could. You can play football. One of the guys from the UNLV, I can't remember what his name was. It was Greg Anthony or one of the dudes that he was doing a shirt business. So he forego his scholarship to do a t-shirt business and do whatever he was going to go do. There was a kid that played for Notre Dame.
He did a necktie business.
Is it a necktie business? Yeah. There was a kid that played for Notre Dame as a turn guy. He was the young actor that played Ray in the Ray Charles movie. He was the kid, when Ray went blind, he was that actor. He grew up in the played for Notre Dame, and he went to SMU. Those kind of guys, I think they could find a way to profit because they were actors before. There's a young gentleman that's going to go to USC. I know that he's playing LeBron James in the remake. LeBron James is the Michael Jordan movie, the Bugs Bunny thing. What is that movie? I can't remember what you call it, but there's some guys that have done that and they're trying to do it. So they're just trying to open it up for everybody to make their money. And, for me, I look at kids, you're only relevant maybe for the 4 or 5 years you're in school, and then maybe a couple years afterwards from being a football player or a basketball player, whatever you're going to be, a gymnast. And I think this name, image, and likeness, actually for females is actually the biggest opportunity, I think, because you think about it, females don't get the scholarship opportunities that men do for the full ride scholarship because it's non-revenue sports. But a lot of times, for many reasons, either they can be funny or whatever. A lot of them are attractive and different things like that. They can make a lot of money while they're relevant there, just with social media. You know what I mean? But they're kind of being the ones that are held out the most. But anyway, I think that looking at your story, hopefully people listening to the story can get some inspiration, kind of following your dreams and seeing where that takes you, and putting you in a situation now where here you are, 47 years old, and you're top of the food chain. You're doing what you got to go do, and you didn't have to struggle along. I mean, you worked hard, but you didn't have to live eating out of garbage cans and stuff the whole way to go do it. You hit a plan and you made it. So I'm proud to call you my friend. I'm very proud of all the work you do. I love when I see you on a commercial. I love when I see a show that you've written. I love seeing the stand-up, man. So I appreciate you taking the time out with me to tell your story. And for those people that live under a rock, when can they watch The Last O.G? What channel? What times will come on? TBS. I watch everything on demand, so just go on demand and watch Last O.G.
For this season.
Okay, the new season hasn't had an air date. How many? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
It comes on TBS. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're getting choppy, but I think I can hear you better than I can see you.
Choppy.
We'll do it. So anyway, Last O.G. TBS.
Season 4.
Okay. And how many episodes are we going to have in season 4?
This fall on TBS. So
we getting choppy, man.
Episodes, and we got some amazing stuff happening.
Okay, I can't wait to do it. One of these days, I'm gonna have to have a cameo. You're gonna see. You don't know why. The little thing you'll see, big man walking through the back, and that's gonna be because the showrunner is a friend of mine. We will get to it. So, I appreciate you, man. I know that you're heavily booked, and you got something else. Your people told me there's a hard stop, so I'm not gonna hold that back, man. But I love you, man, and I appreciate you being on my show today. All right, y'all.